Hello, hello. This is the My Artifact episode number 4065. Today's date is May 24. Sorry, May 21, 2026. It's been almost like a night at 10:17 p.m. Let me tell you the weather today. Weather right now, it's been almost like a 37 degrees Celsius, but somehow it kind of like a feels like it doesn't really show the feels like. It shows the 37 degrees Celsius. It does not kind of like a telling me how it kind of like a feels like, but it is kind of like a much more kind of like a hot. Okay, why hot? I already explained this thing. Okay, during the day the sunlight actually on the full brightness mode. Okay, and the rest of the kind of like a surface, a soil, a natural soil, does not trap heat that much, but the asphalt and the surface temperature, like specifically the cement, the kind of concrete, okay, they trap a heat a lot. And after the sunlight, sorry, after the sunset, though that whatever the kind of like a during the day the heat is actually trapped, it started emitting, because like it's kind of like a do the cool down. Okay, why? Because thermodynamics law. The thermodynamics law is a kind of like a try to maintain the balance of the temperature and things, and that if the one temperature is kind of like a much more higher, then the medium is a try to make sure that key temperature kind of like a cool down. Example is this thing. Let's take a hot water, a cup of hot water. After hour it will come to the room temperature. Okay, so this is what it is, like it emit the heat to the medium, so that kind of like a something that key weather, sorry, temperature would kind of like a stable. Okay, so basically the surface temperature is a kind of like a emitting the kind of like a heat from the surrounding, and when it kind of like emit the heats from the surface, like as specifically from concrete, it's like a really hotter. So that's why during the night it kind of like a feel much more hotter. During the day it is, yeah, obviously during the day is kind of like a even more hotter. Okay, but during the night it just, yeah, so brutal. Like why am I kind of like every time I'm kind of like a mention this thing during the night? I don't know. I don't know why. Like basically during the day, like I usually record Artifact twice in a day. I record early morning Artifact at early morning at 8 a.m., 7:30 a.m. Okay. So at that time the weather is a kind of like a okay. It is still very heavy, by the way. Like basically at 8 p.m. Sorry, 8 a.m. Still it's been almost like a started at almost like a 39, 38 degrees Celsius. Yeah, you cannot able to be kind of like a somebody just like a just for a 5 minute you kind of like a somebody bear the heat. Can't. Even in the morning at 7:30 a.m. it's hot, like literally hot. But still it's okay. It's not really that bad. It's okay. I'm like wired with this thing, because since the beginning I'm kind of like a living on this area. Okay, so basically it's manageable. But during the night, boy oh boy, it's just like that. I'm sweating from my back. I'm sweating from my, like literally just did shower. I just ate my dinner. I'm kind of like a walking at the rooftop. I'm still feel like a warm. Yeah, like literally warm. Okay, let me tell you one thing. Okay, so what exactly happened? So I kind of like showered. Like since I came workout, I came home. I showered. After I showered, there is a wet towel. I put the wet towel on kind of like a something, a kind of like we have a kind of like a something, some sort of cupboard. On that cupboard we have a surface. Now that surface is a covered with a kind of like a plywood. It's not plywood. It's a kind of like a something that key. It's a plywood means like that na ki, like basically a wood. Okay, but uh, after the wood there is a layer called sun mic. Yeah, sun mic. Okay, so it kind of like a somebody have a sun mic. Okay, so basically what exactly happened? Okay, so I put my wet towel over there. Okay, and I was kind of like just wearing my underwear and things and that and that. I was kind of like simply turn on the cooler, and I was kind of like simply just stay in front of the cooler for at least like a 2-3 minute. Okay, I just wanted to take the cool, okay, cool down my body. It's way much hotter after the workout. Night, just everything kind of like a sweat came from everywhere. Whatever. So I then after that I kind of like take my towel. The towel bottom part, the towel is kind of like a like basically which is on the surface, like a basically when it kind of like attached to the surface, it get warmer. The towel, the wet towel, get warmer from bottom, which is actually connected to the surface of that sun mic. Get warmer. Like what the fuck is this actually happening? Okay. Then I realized that it's also thermodynamics law. Okay, because wet towel is act like a kind of like a conductor. Okay, because water is a good conductor of heat and electricity, and wet towel is a kind of like a conductor. Okay, so and also sun mic, which is like okay, let me tell you one thing. Sun mic is also kind of like a wood. Okay, yeah, and wood is not a kind of like a good conductor of heat and electricity. So why does kind of like a sun mic get hotter? Okay, so actually sun mic doesn't really get hotter. The problem is that the atmosphere is actually get hotter. So let me tell you one thing. So I have a room, okay, downstairs I have a room, and that room is always packed, like a literally doesn't really have any exhaust. Like it doesn't really have a kind of like a kind of like a assembly opening for let the kind of like a warm air get outside. Doesn't really have that. It's complete pack room. Okay. So when the complete pack room is actually there, then what exactly happened? That key layer of kind of like a hot air is trapped. Okay, and because of that room, no one turn on the fan and things and that room is kind of like a somebody combination of kind of like a lot of heat over there, like a lot of heat things and that. So it traps so much amount of heat, and because of it doesn't really have any kind of like a exhaust to let it out and things and that. No one goes that room, and no one kind of like a turn on the fan, or no one kind of like open the window and things that heat stays there entire day, entire night. Okay, and that's why that room is kind of like a very warm. Like literally, if you went there, it felt like that okay, you are kind of like a went into the furnace or things like that. Like literally that hot. Okay, that warm. Sorry, not hot. Probably kind of like a simply warm. Okay, yeah. So let me tell you one thing. The room temperature. Okay. So basically, the where the cooler actually exists. The living room. The living room is a kind of like a cooler, and because of the cooler, the temperature kind of like a bit almost like a 20-25 degrees Celsius probably. Okay, yeah. Now cooler doesn't really have any kind of like a gauge or things like that, but yeah. But since you went into that room, then that room is just like boy oh boy, like literally it felt like that you like 25 degrees Celsius to directly went into the 40 degrees Celsius. Everything is actually warm. Okay, yeah. And because of everything actually warm, the sun mic is also get warm too. Okay. And because the sun mic get warm, the kind of like a somebody wet towel is a kind of like a somebody act as a conductor, and it kind of like a somebody that key suck the kind of like a somebody heat from the sun mic. Okay. And just get hotter. Okay, it's a kind of like a thing. Okay, let me, if you're not really understanding. Okay, yeah. So you have a pan. Okay, you have a pan. Okay, yeah. So turn on the gas, put the pan. Okay, let the pan get hot. Now what you have to do, take a cloth, or maybe t-shirt, maybe would be kind of like a much more better. Take a t-shirt. Now your t-shirt is not a good conductor of heat and electricity. Okay, if you're not really understanding the concept, conductor means what na ki a conduct means like that a transfer of heat from one place to another place, like a, let's just say a kind of like a pipe. Okay, imagine a kind of like a simply a water flows from tank 1 to tank 2, and we attach the pipe. So basically that pipe act as a conductor. It kind of like a flows water from tank 1 to tank 2. Okay, so this is the kind of like a pipe. Conductor is also act like that way. A conductor is a kind of like a somewhat something is that key it transfer heat, also it transfer electricity. Now if I'm gonna say electricity means like that a specific amount of conductor, like a copper is a really good conductor of heat and electricity, specifically electricity, because kind of like some electron kind of like moves much more faster and things and that with having less resistance. So that's why copper is actually utilized for electricity. Okay, yeah. Even iron is also used for electricity too, but iron is not that much good conductor. Okay, like there is a like layers of good conductor. Okay, yeah. So these are kind of like a things. Now heat is also kind of like a simply a thing that transfer to. Okay, so basically how the heat is actually transfer, heat is also energy too. So heat is actually transferred through those kind of like a medium. Okay, some of the kind of like a something material are not meant to be a conductor, like a basically a tree or wood are not a good conductor of heat and electricity. Okay, like it does not flow electricity, it does not flow heat. Okay, but it get warm. Yeah, the wooden block get warm too. Now how the wooden block get warm is because of where it stays. Okay, so basically is this thing, if that wooden block, like okay, let's touch the tree or trunk. Okay, like you see the tree. Okay, yeah. So there is a kind of like a kind of like a tree, like just try to touch, okay, and feel the, is it colder, it is hotter, it kind of like it's room temperature. Okay, so let me tell you one thing now. Everything kind of like a get hotter or get colder is not because of the good conductor or kind of like they are having kind of like good control electricity things and that. No, it's a kind of like a simply thermodynamics law. Thermodynamics law is kind of like a consider that key, let everything get colder. Like okay, let me, if you're not really understanding and things and that, let's just say okay. So basically you turn on the AC. Okay, yeah, you have a kind of like a closed pack room, turn on the AC, everything cool. Even if the kind of like a sun mic and wooden and everything get cool. Even if those are not really good conductor, but they are kind of like get cool. You touch it, you kind of like a feel like okay, yeah, it's a little bit of cool. Okay, yeah. Why is that? Because the thermodynamics law. It's a kind of like a things that na ki energy is a kind of like a transfer and it try to maintain the room temperature. And the room temperature is actually controlled by the AC because AC is kind of like a things and that. So this is what it is. Okay, so it's that's why kind of like the sun might get hotter and the wet towel kind of like a absorb the heat from that. Okay. And basically I lift that the wet towel, the bottom part of the wet towel is like hot, like I'm like what the fuck is this thing, like is that kind of like it's really hot, it's legitly hot, like literally hot. It's not really that hot ki kind of like something you cannot able to be lift and things, but you would kind of like a feel like that. The other part of the towel is a kind of like a cool, and the part is kind of like a part of the towel which actually connected to the sun, surface of the sun mic is get hotter. Boy oh boy. Yeah. So why am I kind of like a talking about the science lecture? I'm not talking about the science lecture. I'm just kind of like a try to explain myself regarding of how things actually happen. And basically I kind of like a learn a lot of things when I kind of like a talk to me to understand me something regarding about that. It felt really good. Okay, yeah. And basically is this thing now कि during the night I don't want to ask question. It's just like that na कि I just want to talk about the heat and things, because this is only one thing that kind of like bothering me a lot. Like I cannot tell you, dude. Like basically this thing, I'm kind of like okay, in my room, okay, I don't really have like a basically as I mentioned, we only have a cooler, which is actually installed in living room. Okay, yeah. Now basically I didn't really work at my living room. I kind of like a work at my room, which is kind of like a downstairs. Okay, and I have one table fan. Now the problem is that that table fan is, oh my god, like during the day it's just so hot. Like basically the table fan is not cooling down anything. It just kind of like is only just whatever the air that it has, just kind of like a blow the air, and that air is already hot. It just always get hot, like literally just like so hot water, dude. Like literally like water get hot too. Like literally I turn on the tap, the water kind of like is also hot. It's really really hot. Like everything is like the summer India, dude, like so brutal. Specifically in Vidarbha, Maharashtra, bhai sahab, like you cannot bear that heat. Literally you cannot bear that heat. 43 44 degrees Celsius, dude. It's just like na, so hot, like really really hot. But like let me tell you one thing now. Like sometime I kind of like think that na ki which of the kind of like a place of entire planet would be kind of like a really good, like what is the kind of like a place that kind of like really good, like from weather point of perspective and things and that. Then probably I realized that na ki the question is kind of like completely wrong. Like yeah, there is a kind of like so many cities, there are so many places are kind of like have very decent weather and temperature and things and that, which is really good, which is really great by the way. But what I realized that na ki the okay, the what is exactly good for us is just for us. Okay, yeah, like we think about that key weather is so hotter is for us, but for rest of the planet, for rest of the kind of like some trees or things or animals or things and that, maybe the summer is kind of like a much more better, like a basically during this summer the plants are kind of like a simply doing their kind of like a work with 100% efficiency process. I think, yeah, I don't know, but yeah, they are kind of like a, like they are so green and they didn't really get sunlight, they didn't really get any kind of like a simply that key tan, they didn't really apply any kind of like a SPF 50 and things and that. No, they are kind of like actually just green and as it is, and they are kind of like a, like this is our food, let me suck my let me suck the sunlight. Make me food, make me green, and those are kind of like actually just stay all the green all the time. And I don't know how this kind of like a plant are thinking like that. Like basically it's a 50 degrees Celsius, dude. The plants are kind of like thinking that, are you fucking not dying? Like literally there is a kind of like a tree in front of me, I'm talking to the tree. Stupid. Obviously not, they will not gonna talk to me, but I was already curious regarding about that. Dude, it's a 50 degrees Celsius, like a 45 degrees Celsius. I'm just kind of like assembly just sweating from everywhere. Why are you not standing? Just stand still and just like sucking the sun. Oh my god, how you do that? Like literally just like that now. If I just like open up the my window and let the sunlight open, it just brighten up the my room so much, like it just a narrow, it just brighten up the entire room and kind of like a warm such a way, just like boy oh boy. Yeah, it's a very hot in here. By the way, good news is that ki monsoon will arrive. It still takes almost like probably 20 days, 20 to 25 days, almost a month maybe, but still a month I have to be survive a month of this hot weather. Yeah, it will gonna arrive probably 15 to 20 June. Right now it's a 21 June. Yeah, almost like a, yeah, just a month away. Yeah, after the month away there is a monsoon will come. And monsoon is just like, I love rain. Like I don't know, but I really love rain. Like the fact that I why am I love so much rain is also because of that key, like a so much brutal sunlight, dude. Okay, in here specifically where I live, Wardha, Maharashtra, the sunlight is just like so brutal. I'm just waiting for when the monsoon will came and when, like, I don't know, yeah. There are so many things. Like I don't know how do I supposed to explain. I like rain. Like sometime I annoyed. That is true. But like I like rain. Winter, like I like winter too. But winter is a kind of like winter is also brutal. Yeah. Okay. Also, let me tell you one thing now. I am able to be handle the heat because like basically my bodies act like that way. Like I am since the beginning of my birth, I'm kind of like a living in Maharashtra, India. So basically my body is actually adopt to handle 40 degrees Celsius, 45 degrees Celsius. Yeah, it's bearable. Like bearable means like that. Ki, okay, I'm figure it out. I'm find out. But cold, I cannot able to be bear. Yeah, literally it's just like that. Na ki, okay, if you are kind of like a born in kind of like a somebody polar region like Europe or maybe Canada or things and that, then probably you are kind of like your body is adopt to handle the 5 degrees Celsius or even less than that. Me, I cannot able to be handle more than 10 degrees Celsius. Yeah, literally just I cannot able to do that thing. um the the much more brutal the hot it is brutal, but I can manage. Okay, but cold is not like, okay, let me kind of like do the experiment. Okay, yeah. So a person who is actually from Canada, the person who kind of like grew up in Canada and things and that. So basically, the his entire life he never really seen a kind of like a more than 30 degrees Celsius weather, never really at all. Okay, now suddenly he came to the India at summer. Does he survive? He will not gonna survive. Literally, he will kind of like a like like he might think that, oh my god, this is kind of like a so much heat, and this is what it exactly is this thing now, because he never really been experienced more than 30 degrees Celsius in his entire life, and right now he's actually experiencing almost like a 43, 44 degrees Celsius. His body is melting, like literally he might get kind of like a somebody just shocked and things and that. And same thing happened with me if I went to kind of like a Canada and like then kind of like a less than 5 degrees Celsius. Oh my god, I cannot. Okay, so for me it is like a torturous, like probably I might gonna get sick because I never really been experienced less than 5 degrees Celsius weather. So this is what kind of like a thing actually happens. So basically our human bodies kind of like adopt with the kind of like a weather and temperature and nature and where we belong and things and that. Okay, so probably right now in the 49 degrees Celsius, sorry, in the 45 degrees Celsius, I could able to be kind of like a stand and record artifact and things and that. But in the 5 degrees Celsius, boy oh boy, literally I cannot able to be go outside. Like if I'm going outside, I need a kind of like a somebody sweatshirt, shirt, t-shirt, pant, whatever it is, socks, everything full covered. Yeah, like basically where I live, the in winter we don't really get that much winter. Like probably get 15 degrees Celsius. Like a yeah, 15 degree or maybe kind of like a 15 to 14 degrees Celsius max to max. Okay, it doesn't really get even less than that. 50 is a 15 degrees Celsius is a too much. Most of the kind of like some of the winter temperatures kind of like a going through 50 to 20 degrees Celsius. Okay, yeah. But I didn't really experience that much kind of like some cold. But still, I cannot able to bear the cold. Yeah, that is kind of like a thing. Heat, I might gonna survive, but cold is not. Whatever. I don't know why I'm kind of like suddenly asking such a question. I don't know, just like yeah, I don't want to kind of like suddenly ask question to myself and things and that. Yeah. Whatever. Let's just end here. Okay, this is it, and thank you.